Greetings to you viewers from across the globe. You're welcome to the show Viewpoint, where we discover perspectives and embrace dialogue. I'm your host, Odiawa AI for Veegil Media. You will do well to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us across various social media platforms, and don't forget to download the app on the Google Play Store and the Apple App Store. On the show today, we will be talking about the ownership of the FCT. And when I mean the FCT, I'm talking about the Federal Capital Territory. Now, who actually owns the Federal Capital Territory now? It has been a topic of discussion or debate for a long time coming, from the 70s, running into the 80s, 90s, and now the 2000s up until 2023. Why? Because there was a recent squabble between a sheikh and the current or incumbent FCT minister. Now, the Federal Capital Territory is a federal territory in the central part of Nigeria. Abuja actually is the capital of Nigeria. It's located in this territory and is carved out from parts of the states of Old Kaduna, Kwara, Niger, Plateau states. Now, with the bulk of the landmass of the FCT actually carved out from Niger State. Now, unlike other states of Nigeria, which are headed by elected lead representatives or governors, it is administered by the Federal Capital Territory Administration, headed by a minister who is duly appointed by the chief executive, the president here in question. Now that 15 out of 17 ministers of the FCT have been northerners has almost made some Nigerians to forget the actual status and reason of the creation of the FCT as far back as 1976. And this calls for concern because I'm of the view that stakeholders must insist that every Nigerian has the right to hold sway in the nation's capital as prescribed by law. Now, if there are prior debates regarding the status and ownership of the FCT, the Federal Capital Territory, like I said earlier, in Abuja, they definitely must have been voiced in a hushed manner, which is typical of the Nigerian system. It's always a case of shut your trap jaw. If you talk, you end up on the floor. But the recent outburst by a cleric, I mean Sheikh Ahmad Gumi, that the city is part of northern Nigeria and must be administered by a Muslim. It has raised eyebrows and got tongues wagging with jaws moving about and generated heated controversies amongst ethnic groups within the nation. Now, to Sheikh Gumi and his disciples, the present president of Nigeria, by that I mean Bola Ahmed Tinubu, he has accused him of committing a blunder in appointing former Rivers State Governor Nyesom Wike, who is currently the FCT minister, as he expected the president to act like most of his predecessors by appointing a northerner as the administrator of the FCT. Now, as far back as February 1976, when the FCT was created, 15 out of 17 ministers, as history has it, have been northerners, except the first southerner and the first minister of the FCT, who happens to be, is deceased now, late Chief Mobolaji Ajose Adeogun. And now, currently we have Wike. Ajose Adeogun was in office between 1976 and 1979. Now, among other things, Gumi criticized Nyesom Wike for holding a meeting with the Israeli ambassador to Nigeria, Mr. Michael Freeman, in his office and demanded his removal from office. He also accused Tinubu of planning to turn Abuja into Tel Aviv, the capital of Israel, where Muslims have been targeted and maimed for a long time coming. If within this past months and weeks, if we are well aware of what's happening in the Gaza fracas, because Wike received Michael Freeman in his office. Now, my question now is, truthfully, the insinuations of the October 3rd meeting of 2023 between Wike and Freeman, Israeli ambassador, are actually baseless. Insinuations rather, frankly speaking. The FCT minister, regardless of ethnic nationality, has no constitutional powers, to determine Nigeria's diplomatic relations with other nations. As such power is only vested absolutely with the president and commander-in-chief of the armed forces. By that I mean the president. Now, according to news sources, this October 3 meeting of 2023 was purely for agricultural partnership in the interest of the FCT farmers. Now, it was not just a ploy of pro-Israel activities here. It's actually to serve the interests of Nigeria. What does the foreign policy of Nigeria say? It says Nigeria first before any other thing. Now, it's actually serving the interests of the FCT farmers. That was the essence of the meeting. So these insinuations, which are not just baseless or clueless, well, I say it's founded on ignorance also. That's food for thought we need to wine and dine about. Now, moving on, we must be constitutionally aware that Section 297, subsection 1 of the 1999 Constitution states, and I quote, "There shall be a federal capital territory, Abuja, the boundaries of which are defined in Part 2 of the first schedule of the Constitution," with subsection 2 adding that the ownership of all lands comprised in the FCT, the Federal Capital Territory, here in Abuja, shall vest in the government of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Extensively speaking now, Section 298 further states that the Federal Capital Territory shall be the capital of the Federation and seat of the government of the Federation. Now, what is a federation here? A federation is a whole entity which is made up of a cluster of states. And these states now will accommodate tribes, religions, and a whole lot. And this is something some people have refused to recognize. Wike had, upon getting into office, told Abuja residents to prepare for tough decisions. And he advised them to be patient with the federal government and assured that the tough decisions would be for the betterment of the nation. As at during the last administration, we could see that flooding had plagued the whole of the FCT. Why? Because of waste improperly disposed of. And this is what Wike has come in to checkmate. Structures being erected in areas in which they are not meant to be erected. If you want to get a land now, you must have your landed documentations well in place, from the red copy, the survey plan, and the CFO and right of ownership. But these documentations actually have been abused in the name of using them rightfully. Now, to return sanity to the capital city, Abuja, Wike had ordered the demolition of several illegal structures across the territory and also threatened to revoke all underdeveloped property within a stipulated time frame, as well as approve the withdrawal and revocation of houses to individuals by the FCT administration, but converted to other uses. Gumi's inciting statements, which did not go unnoticed, unlike in the past, has attracted condemnation from many parts, like I said earlier on, in the country, with Nigerians reminding him that the FCT belongs to all Nigerians and, of course, no exclusive preserve of any region, ethnic group, or religion. Now, yes, indeed, Nigeria's unity and peace came under the threat of in the past, actually, through, though never like Gumi's provocative utterances, as some Nigerians believe that they are more Nigerian than others, and so they therefore hold on to this entitlement mentality. Now, one of the first groups to actually condemn Sheikh Gumi's alleged entitlement mentality, which smacks of provocative outbursts, was PANDEF. Now, in case we don't know what PANDEF is the Pan-Niger Delta Forum, which is a statement by its National Publicity Secretary, Dr. Ken Robinson, described Gumi's comments as irresponsible, ridiculous, and subversive. Further on, adding in his own words that it is most unfortunate that at a time when well-meaning Nigerians should be bothered about the stability, peace, unity of the nation, the likes of Gumi are further stoking in embedded discord, intending to exacerbate tension in the nation, which is evident. We have kidnappings which are rampant now as we speak now in the north. And then you come up with this kind of insightful statements which are enough to induce people to begin to overreact baselessly, Now, another group which also reacted to this statement now is the Middle Belt Forum, the MBF. Now, the MBF actually also found Sheikh Gumi's views actually ludicrous. In a statement by its National Publicity Secretary also, Dr. Pogu Bitrus, he actually condemned the cleric's insinuations that it is wrong for a Christian. Now, I don't mean to be biased because I'm a Christian here. It's just a discussion of objectivity here. Now, it is not wrong for a Christian to be appointed as the FCT minister. And that the FCT belongs to the North and that the ministerial slots should be exclusively preserved for the Muslim North. Now, the MBF had to remind Gumi that the FCT was originally inhabited by the Gbayi people, who are the original inhabitants of Abuja. The Gbayi people are actually the real inhabitants of Abuja. Now, they were dislodged from their ancestral home to create the territory that he now lays claim to, stressing further that his call for Wike's sack was unfortunate and, frankly speaking, reflective of subtle agenda aimed at enthroning a state religion on Nigerians. Now, the MBF, the Middle Belt Forum, further aligned with the plight of the PANDEF Forum, which is a Pan-Niger Delta Forum, which I mentioned. The group actually said, and I quote, "Nigeria doesn't belong to any particular tribe, nor does it belong to any particular religion, but a multi-ethnic, multi-religious, as recognized by the Constitution. Hence, anybody who brings up the argument and tries to impose themselves on others will definitely not be accepted." Now, on the seemingly belief among some Northerners that the FCT minister must be a Northerner, as echoed by Sheikh Gumi, such thoughts being peddled by whoever I would address them as, I would frankly address them as political jokers, because the FCT was carved out to be the capital of Nigeria. Nigeria now is recognized as a federation, and therefore all Nigerians should have equal rights there. It's like having equal rights to the national cake, even though the national cake is being rationed as we speak, and it's not even getting into the mouth that it should get to. Now, might we recall that before Abuja, there was Lagos as a federal capital territory. We might not even go down history memory lane as Calabar being the initial capital territory, but for political reasons, it was shifted over to Lagos, and also for political reasons, therefore, shifted over to Abuja. Now, before independence and immediately after independence, Lagos had a succession of two ministers of Lagos affairs. Both were Northerners, actually. We must go down history lane. Alhaji Musa Yar'Adua, father of the late president, may so rest in peace, President Umaru Musa Yar'Adua, and Muhammadu Ribadu, who happens to be the grandfather of the immediate past First Lady, Hajia Aisha Buhari, were both FCT ministers while in Lagos. So now my question now is, which we of course need to wine and dine about in our brains, is why all of a sudden this sectarianism? Now, is Sheikh Gumi not armed with historical facts concerning his nation? That's another question we need to table before him to wine and dine about. Now, leading the ground troops, Sheikh Gumi, he and his army of perturbed purists are quite unhappy with Wike's presence as minister and his modus operandi in the FCT. No doubt about that. He went there with this commando style, which in the first weeks of his government, they tried to implicate him, if we will recall, in recent months back. Gumi and his disciples spoke on the ownership of the status of the FCT, Abuja. He spoke on who was qualified to actually wield power or steer the ship of the FCT, and who was not right to actually steer the ship. Now, in a recent article titled "Between Wike and Gumi, Who Really Owns Abuja?" written by Lasisi Olagunju, stating among others, he said, he asked a question and he was told President Bola Tinubu's choice of a Southerner as FCT minister is heresy to the powers in the North. I would say that's interesting, frankly speaking. But shall we now ask who really owns Abuja, the federal capital territory? Now, going down memory lane, there won't be, when someone wakes up in the morning to do his or her morning devotion, there is a reason. Now, when someone falls ill and takes his medication, there's also a reason. There's always a reason behind an action. Now, why was the capital moved from Lagos to Abuja? Might we remember, historically speaking, Lagos had become a wild, wild west and become so rowdy that government could not operate or function. Evidently, now you can see it now in the traffic. Now, General Murtala Mohammed, the Kanu man who created it, asked and answered that question at the very inception or beginning. In his February 3, 1976 broadcast announcing that the area as our new federal capital territory, he said it will belong to all Nigerians and all tribes and tongues. And the area is not within the control of any of the major ethnic groups in the nation, and having been created on such virgin lands as suggested, it was to be, for all Nigerians, a symbol of their oneness and unity. Now, optically speaking, if we look at the map, we will see that federal capital territory is actually in the center. Now, the late head of state said, and I quote, "The federal capital territory will belong to all Nigerians, and the few inhabitants in the area who need to be moved out of the territory for planning processes will be resettled outside the area of the places of their choices of government expense." They were actually catered for. Now, until Tinubu appointed Wike, Abuja had been ruled as if it were the 20th northern state, because evidently now we have 19 northern states, thereby negating the idea behind its creation and making many ask why Nigeria built a new federal capital territory. The fate of Lagos as the capital city was finally decided by the Muritala Obasanjo administration in February 1976, when on August 7, 1975, less than 3 months after taking government, Muritala Muhammad set up the Justice Akinola Aguda panel to locate a suitable place as the federal capital territory. Other members of the panel also were Chief E.E. Nsefik, Dr. Tai Sholari, Professor Oke Ogun, Alhaji Musa Isma, Chief O.M. Fabai, Dr. Ajato Kamo, and Colonel Pedro Martins. The Muhammad administration accepted the recommendations and on February 5, 1976 promulgated Decree 6. As at that time there were no constitutions. We had edicts and decrees because of the military regime, if you will recall, giving a legal backing to its white paper, which was actually inked down on the panel's report. Now, seriously speaking, a lot of dry season and rainy seasons since the creation of Abuja has passed, such that after the execution of the entire project of the FCT, Abuja has become more like the capital of the north than of Nigeria. That is why this insinuation now is coming up by Sheikh Gumi. Now, the intention of those who came up with the idea of Abuja was that it would eventually become a federal capital territory of the country. Nigeria, I will say, belongs to everybody and belongs to no one. It will always be here, and the capital territory will always remain here and will always be for Nigeria and Nigerians, and not an entity or a group of people. I'm Hajia AI for Veegil Media, and the show has been Viewpoints, where we discover perspectives and embrace dialogue. You will do well to subscribe to our channel on YouTube, Veegil Media, and follow us across various social media platforms. Don't forget to download the app on the Google Play Store and the Apple App Store. Thanks for watching.